Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mr. Rowe. We're looking at lesson 5 in geometry part A, and we're going to talk about how to use the properties of parallel lines to find some angle measures. So let's take a look. So here's our first example. It says given that R is parallel to S, so we know that these two lines are parallel to each other. We want to find the value of X and then use that value to find the measure of the missing angle. So we already know this angle is 140, so we're really just trying to figure out what this angle is. That's after we find the value for X. So we need to know what the relationship between this angle and this angle is. So if we look, they are on the same side of the transversal. Remember, this is the transversal. It cuts through two or more other lines. And they are exterior angles. So same side, exterior. Well, we know that we have a rule for this. Same side exterior angles are supplementary. That's a theorem. So since these are supplementary, we know that if we add these two angles together, 5x minus 5 plus 140, we're going to get 180 degrees. So now we just need to combine like terms and then solve the two-step equation. So we're going to combine our like terms first. We can do that through associative property. And so we have 5x plus 135 equals 180. And that is a plus sign right there. Ignore that little, that's not there. And then we're going to subtract 135 from each side. And then that leaves me with 5x. And if you're not sure, please don't mess this problem up just because you won't use your calculator. So let's use our calculator here. We got 180 minus 135, and that's going to equal 45. And let me make this look more like a 0 in case you're copying down here. So there we go. And then our final step here is to divide both sides by 5. And so that I know the first part, which is to find the value of x, x is going to equal 9. So I know what x is 9. So the second part of the problem says to find the missing angle. So find the measure of the missing angle. We already know that this angle is 140. So this angle is already 140. So we're just concerned about this angle. We know that x is 9. So why not just replace x with 9 and then solve? 5 times 9 is 45. 45 minus 5 is 100. Mr. Pay attention. 40 degrees. So big deal on this problem is knowing what angle measures you're looking at. We're looking at same side exterior. Same side exterior are supplementary. So then we set up a multi-step equation. We simplify the multi-step equation, then solve the two-step equation that results to get our value for x. And then we use our value of x in the expression for the missing angle. And then that gives us our missing angle measure. All right, so let's take a look at our next example. So we've got R and S are parallel again. So we know that these two angles are parallel. And we want to find the value of x and then find the measure of each angle. So we need to know the relationship between these two angles. Again, these are exterior angles. But these are on the opposite sides of the transversal. One's on the top side of the transversal, one's on the bottom side. So that makes these alternate exterior angles. And the rule for alternate exterior angles is that they are congruent. So we know that 2x plus 2 has to equal 3x minus 63. So this is a multi-step equation with variables on both sides. One of our rules here is to get the variable on the same side first. So we're going to subtract 2x from each side. That leaves me with 2 equals x minus 63. And then we're going to add 63 to each side. And folks, I need you to show all this work just like I'm doing in these examples. Don't skip steps. We're going to have to justify each step as we are in geometry. And so there is x. X is 65. So now we need to find each angle measure. Well, since these angles are the same, I really only need to figure out what one angle measure is. And I'm going to show you that since x is 65, that both of these verify. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2x plus 2, which is the easier one. Now I'm going to replace x with 65. So 2 times 65 plus 2. 2 times 65 is 130. 130 plus 2 is 132. So both of these angles are 132 degrees. Okay, so now I'm just going to verify the other angle, just so you can see that they do actually equal. All right, so there's 3x minus 63. We're going to replace x with 65. Again, pull out your calculator. Don't mess this up just because you're not using your calculator. 3 times 65 is 195. So we got 195 minus 63. And again, don't be afraid to use that calculator. And look at that, 132. So I do get 132. So again, we had to know the relationship here. The relationship here happened to be alternate exterior angles. And using that, we knew that the angles were congruent. So we set up an equation where both angles were congruent. Then we solved the multi-step equation to find x, and then we used that value to find each angle measure. Let's look at our last example here. Again, we're going to find the measure of each angle measure, and we're going to find the value of x. And we are told right here that L is parallel to M. So here's L and M. Those two lines are parallel. And we're also told that R and S are parallel. So we've got a pair, or two pair, of parallel lines, with each of the sets of parallel lines being the transversal to the other. So what happens here is that this angle, or this, let me separate this here, and I'll erase it. So if we look at just this set of lines, we've got all those rules about alternate exterior, alternate interior, consecutive exterior, corresponding angles. And then if we look at the other pair of angles, we have the same rules. Guess what? If we look the other way, the same things are going to be true. So we can look this way as well. So these angles will have those same relationships. Now, since both of these lines, both sets of lines are parallel, guess what? All the angles are going to end up being related to each other. So we're going to use this angle measure to help us figure out how it relates to this angle measure. So we're going to start off with using this. This is a corresponding angle. So that means that this angle right here is 112 degrees. And then I can use any sort of rules I want to. I'm going to use vertical angles here to help me figure this out. Since this angle is 112, well, so will this angle. That angle is going to be 112 degrees as well. And now what I have is I have a set of consecutive interior angles. So these are consecutive, and we didn't use the word consecutive. We use same side. So these are same side interior. Same side interior angles are supplementary. So we know that those two angles together have to equal 180 degrees. So we're going to set up our equation for x minus 8 plus 112 is going to equal 180. We're going to combine our like terms. This will be similar to that first example we did. So negative 8 plus 112 That'd be 4x plus 104 equals 180 degrees. So then we're going to subtract 104 from each side. That's going to give us 4x equals 76. Then we're going to divide by 4. And again, pull out your calculator if you're not sure. 76 divided by 4, 19. Okay, so we got x is 19. Well, that's not the question. That's only part of the question. We had to find the value of x, but we also need to find the missing angle measure. So we're going to use that x equals 19 to help us find that missing angle measure. So we know that we have 4x minus 8. We know that x is 19. So we're going to replace x with 19. 4 times 19 is 76. And 76 minus 8 is 68 degrees. So there is our other angle measure. So again, in this one, because of the nature of the problem where we had two sets of parallel lines, we had to figure out the relationship between these two angles by using all of several of our relationships here. Corresponding angles, vertical angles, and then these were same side interior. I could have also used a linear pair situation here, that these two were a linear pair. And I could have figured out what this angle measure was and then used the fact that these two were congruent. There's lots of ways you can do this. I just showed you one method. Just understand it, as long as you can justify the way I did each step, you can set up a proper equation and then solve. So I hope this helps you with problem solving with parallel lines and transversals. If you struggle with the content, please let us know in a teacher message or make an appointment for a help session.